Recognizing your worth and value is one of the most critical aspects of personal growth and emotional resilience. It is the foundation upon which all healthy relationships, professional success, and self-fulfillment are built. Too often, people settle for less than they deserve in relationships, friendships, careers, and even personal goals because they fail to recognize their intrinsic worth. This lack of self-awareness leads to compromising situations where people overextend themselves, undervalue their contributions, and tolerate behavior that undermines their self-respect. Understanding your worth starts with acknowledging your unique strengths, talents, and qualities. It requires you to embrace both your successes and failures as essential parts of your growth journey. People who fail to see their value often rely on external validation to feel good about themselves, which creates an endless cycle of disappointment and insecurity. Your worth isn't defined by how others perceive you or treat you. It's defined by how you see yourself, how you talk to yourself, and how you allow others to interact with you. When you truly understand your worth, you set boundaries that protect your peace and emotional health. Boundaries are not walls, they are guidelines that help others understand how to treat you and what behavior you will or will not tolerate. People who don't recognize their worth often find themselves in toxic relationships or exploitative professional situations because they believe they must accept whatever comes their way. They might convince themselves that they are not good enough, smart enough, or worthy enough to ask for more. But the truth is, when you know your value, you refuse to settle for crumbs when you deserve the whole cake. You start to see rejection as redirection, failure as a lesson, and criticism as feedback rather than as a reflection of your worth. You stop seeking approval from others because you already approve of yourself. This shift in mindset allows you to stand firm in your decisions, even when others doubt or criticize you. Understanding your worth also means embracing your uniqueness without apology. Every individual brings something valuable to the table, be it creativity, kindness, leadership, resilience, or innovation. Yet, in a world dominated by comparison and social media highlight reels, it's easy to feel as though you are falling short. Constant comparison dilutes self-worth and creates feelings of inadequacy. But when you realize that your worth isn't dependent on external factors, how you look, how much money you have, or how others view you, you free yourself from this cycle of self-doubt. You begin to measure success on your own terms, not by someone else's standards. The people who recognize their worth don't feel threatened by others' achievements. Instead, they are inspired by them. They operate from a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity, knowing there's enough success, love, and happiness to go around for everyone. Another key aspect of understanding your worth is knowing when to walk away from people or situations that no longer serve you. Sometimes walking away is the most powerful declaration of self-respect. It's not about proving a point to others, it's about proving a point to yourself that your peace is priceless and your energy is valuable. People who don't value themselves often stay in situations long after they've realized they deserve better out of fear of being alone or fear of failure. But those who understand their worth recognize that walking away isn't giving up, it's choosing themselves. It's a bold act of self-love that says, I deserve better and I refuse to settle for less. And ironically, it's often after you walk away that others finally realize your value, but by then you've already moved on to better opportunities and healthier relationships. Understanding your worth also empowers you to advocate for yourself in every area of your life. Whether it's negotiating your salary, speaking up in meetings, or addressing disrespect in a relationship, knowing your worth gives you the confidence to stand up for yourself. You stop minimizing your contributions and start owning your strengths. You realize that your voice matters, your opinions have weight, and your presence makes a difference. People who know their worth don't shy away from asking for what they deserve because they know they bring value to the table. They don't operate from a place of fear or scarcity. They operate from a place of confidence and self-assuredness. Self-worth also extends to how you treat yourself. The way you talk to yourself, the habits you maintain, and the standards you set for your life all reflect your sense of worth. Someone who values themselves will invest in their health, personal growth, and mental well-being. They will surround themselves with people who uplift them, pursue goals that align with their passions, and make choices that honor their long-term happiness. On the contrary, people with low self-worth often sabotage themselves through procrastination, toxic habits, or settling for less than they deserve. Recognizing your worth isn't a one-time realization, it's a daily commitment. It requires constant self-reflection, boundary setting, and self-affirmation. In the end, understanding your worth isn't just about demanding respect from others, it's about respecting yourself first. It's about recognizing that you are enough just as you are and refusing to allow anyone to diminish your light. People who fail to appreciate your worth may eventually come to regret their actions, but by then you'll have moved on stronger and wiser. You'll have built a life that reflects your value, a life filled with peace, purpose, and self-respect. And that is the true power of knowing you're worth it. Not only transforms your relationship with others, but it transforms your relationship with yourself. Walking away is one of the most challenging yet powerful actions a person can take when they realize their peace, happiness, or self-worth is being compromised. It's not just a physical departure, but an emotional and mental decision to prioritize oneself over circumstances, relationships, or environments that drain energy and self-esteem. The power of walking away lies in the message it sends not to others, but to yourself. It declares that your boundaries matter, your feelings are valid, and your well-being is non-negotiable. Many people hesitate to walk away because they fear being judged, misunderstood, or left alone. They cling to familiarity even when it's toxic simply because the unknown feels scarier. But staying in a situation where you're undervalued, disrespected, or taken for granted does more damage than walking away ever could. It erodes self-esteem, fosters resentment, and traps you in cycles of emotional turmoil. Walking away, on the other hand, signifies courage and self-respect, even if it feels painful at the moment. One of the greatest misconceptions about walking away is that it's a sign of weakness or failure. Society often portrays those who endure hardship, no matter how toxic, as strong and resilient. But true strength lies in knowing when to let go. It requires immense self-awareness to recognize when a relationship, job, or situation is no longer serving you, and even more strength to act on that realization. Walking away isn't about giving up. It's about preserving your peace and protecting your future. It's about recognizing that staying in the wrong place won't lead to the right outcome. Too often, people exhaust themselves trying to fix unfixable situations or change others who are unwilling to grow. They pour their energy into situations where they are unappreciated and undervalued, hoping for change that may never come. But change doesn't always require you to fight harder. Sometimes it requires you to walk away entirely. Walking away also shifts the dynamic of power. When you stay in a situation where you're mistreated, you hand over control of your happiness and self-worth to someone or something else, but walking away reclaims that power. It places the focus back on you, on your growth, your peace, and your future. It sends a clear message that you are not willing to compromise your standards for temporary comfort or shallow validation. This act of self-empowerment often comes with immediate discomfort, the uncertainty of what comes next, the fear of loneliness, or the sting of rejection. But these are temporary feelings. Over time, walking away creates space for better opportunities, healthier relationships, and personal growth. When you walk away, you allow yourself to breathe again, to dream again, and to heal from the wounds caused by staying too long in the wrong place. Another critical aspect of walking away with dignity is maintaining composure and grace during the process. How you walk away says as much about you as the act itself. Walking away doesn't mean storming off in anger, burning bridges, or seeking revenge. It means leaving with your head held high, knowing you gave your best and are now choosing yourself. People often underestimate the importance of how they exit a situation, but leaving gracefully is a reflection of your character and self-respect. It allows you to close the chapter with clarity and peace rather than being haunted by regret or bitterness. When you leave with dignity, you leave room for growth for yourself and for others. You set an example that self-respect isn't about being loud or confrontational. It's about being firm, calm, and unwavering in your decision to honor yourself. Walking away also forces growth in ways that staying never could. It pushes you out of your comfort zone and into the unknown, where resilience and adaptability are forged. When you walk away, you're often met with silent space to reflect, to process, and to rebuild. This silence can feel uncomfortable at first, but it's also where clarity emerges. It's where you begin to understand why things happened the way they did and what lessons you can carry forward. Walking away isn't the end. It's a new beginning, a chance to rewrite your story without the weight of people, environments, or expectations that held you back. It's an opportunity to step into a version of yourself that's stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your true values and desires. Moreover, walking away isn't always about someone else's failure to see your worth. It's also about honoring your own growth. Sometimes the person you become no longer fits the life you once built, and that's okay. Growth often requires letting go of people, habits, and environments that were once comfortable but are now limiting. Walking away is an act of trust, not just in yourself, but in the belief that something better awaits you on the other side. It's a declaration that you're willing to endure temporary discomfort for long-term peace and fulfillment. And while others might not understand your decision, their opinions are irrelevant when compared to your inner peace. In essence, walking away is not about proving a point to others. It's about proving a point to yourself. It's about setting a standard for how you want to be treated, how you want to feel, and what you're willing to accept in your life. When you walk away, you reclaim your narrative. You stop waiting for others to change and start taking responsibility for your happiness. And here's the most empowering part: when you walk away from what's not meant for you, you create space for what is. You open the door for new opportunities, meaningful connections, and a future filled with peace and purpose. Walking away isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of a new chapter, written on your terms, guided by your worth, and fueled by your courage. Healing is one of the most profound journeys a person can undertake, yet it's often misunderstood. Many people believe that closure is a prerequisite for healing, that an apology, explanation, or some grand moment of resolution must occur before they can truly move on. However, the reality is that closure is a luxury, not a guarantee. In many situations, especially those involving heartbreak, betrayal, or loss, closure may never come in the way we expect. The person who hurt you might never apologize. The answers you seek might never be given. And the circumstances surrounding your pain might remain unresolved. Accepting this uncomfortable truth is often the first and most difficult step toward genuine healing. When you let go of the expectation for closure, you take back control over your own healing journey instead of leaving it in someone else's hands. This acceptance doesn't mean the pain disappears overnight, but it creates space for you to start focusing on yourself rather than endlessly chasing answers that may never arrive. When you stop waiting for closure from external sources, you begin to realize that true healing comes from within. It's an internal process that doesn't rely on someone else's acknowledgement of their wrongdoing or validation of your feelings. It means confronting the hurt, understanding the lessons hidden within the experience, and choosing to forgive not for them, but for yourself. Forgiveness in this context doesn't mean condoning or excusing what happened. It means releasing the emotional burden that's been weighing you down. By doing so, you free yourself from the chains of resentment and allow yourself to move forward with a lighter heart. Often, people hold on to their pain because it feels like the only connection they have left to the person or situation that caused it, but holding on only prolongs the suffering. The reality is, closure is not something someone else can give you. It's something you create for yourself when you decide to let go and prioritize your peace over your need for answers. Another key aspect of healing without closure is recognizing the role of acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean approval. It means acknowledging reality for what it is rather than clinging to how you wish it could have been. It's understanding that you may never hear the words, "I'm sorry" or "I was wrong," and choosing to move forward anyway. Acceptance requires a profound level of emotional maturity because it often means letting go of the hope that things will turn out differently. It means surrendering to the fact that some situations simply won't have a neat ending. And that's okay. When you reach this level of acceptance, the grip that pain has over your life begins to loosen. You stop replaying conversations in your head, stop writing imaginary endings to stories that have already finished, and stop searching for answers in places where they don't exist. This mental shift is transformative because it shifts the focus from what you can't control to what you can, your own healing, growth, and future. Healing without closure also requires patience. Emotional wounds don't heal overnight, and the absence of closure can make the healing process feel even slower. There will be days when you feel like you've moved on, only to be triggered by a memory or a passing thought that brings everything rushing back. That's normal. Healing isn't linear, it's messy, unpredictable, and deeply personal. The key is to be gentle with yourself during this process. Allow yourself to grieve what was lost, feel the pain without judgment, and celebrate small victories along the way. Healing isn't about pretending you're okay when you're not. It's about showing up for yourself day after day, even when it feels impossible. It's about recognizing that progress doesn't always look like forward motion. Sometimes it looks like standing still and taking a breath. The goal isn't to erase the pain entirely, it's to learn how to carry it differently so it no longer weighs you down. An essential part of this healing process is also recognizing your own worth. Sometimes the lack of closure leaves people questioning their value, wondering if they weren't good enough, lovable enough, or worthy enough to deserve an apology or explanation. But healing means separating your worth from someone else's actions. You are not defined by how someone treated you, how they left you, or how they failed to provide you with closure. Your worth is intrinsic. It doesn't diminish based on someone else's inability to see it. Reminding yourself of this truth over and over again is a powerful way to rebuild self-esteem and confidence after experiencing hurt or betrayal. The healing process becomes an act of reclaiming your power, of deciding that your peace is more important than someone else's acknowledgement. Lastly, healing without closure invites you to create your own sense of meaning and purpose from the experience. Instead of focusing on what was lost, you start to focus on what can be gained. Every painful experience holds lessons about yourself, about others, and about life. Maybe it taught you resilience, the importance of boundaries, or the value of self-respect. Maybe it revealed parts of yourself you didn't know existed, your strength, your capacity for love, or your ability to endure hardship. When you shift your perspective in this way, the pain transforms into wisdom. It doesn't mean the hurt disappears, but it means it no longer controls you. You become the author of your own healing story rather than waiting for someone else to provide the final chapter. In essence, healing without closure is about choosing yourself, choosing your peace, your growth, and your future over your need for answers or apologies. It's about recognizing that closure isn't something someone else grants you, it's something you create for yourself. It's a declaration that your healing isn't dependent on someone else's actions, but on your willingness to confront your pain, accept reality, and move forward with courage. And while it may not be an easy journey, it's one that ultimately leads to a deeper sense of peace, resilience, and self-love. Inner peace is not something that can be handed to you by another person, nor is it something someone else can take away. It's an internal state of calm, balance, and self-assuredness that comes from within, and it requires conscious effort and responsibility to cultivate and maintain. Too often, people allow their peace to be dictated by external factors, other people's opinions, actions, or validation. When you tie your sense of peace to someone else's behavior or decisions, you give them power over your emotional mental state. For instance, if someone says something hurtful or acts in a way that betrays your trust, it's natural to feel upset. However, when those feelings linger and fester because you're waiting for an apology or a change in their behavior to feel better, you've given them control over your peace. Recognizing that your emotional stability is your responsibility allows you to take back that power. It means accepting that while you can't control what others say or do, you can control how you react, how you interpret their actions, and how much space you allow those actions to occupy in your mind and heart. Taking responsibility for your inner peace begins with self-awareness. You must first identify the triggers and patterns that disrupt your emotional stability. Are you overly reliant on others' approval? Do you replay negative interactions repeatedly in your mind? Are you holding on to grudges or unresolved resentment? These patterns can act like mental parasites, eating away at your peace from the inside. Once you become aware of these habits, you can start addressing them. This might involve setting boundaries, learning to say no, or intentionally removing yourself from environments and relationships that consistently cause you distress. It also means developing emotional resilience, the ability to bounce back from challenges and setbacks without letting them completely derail your state of mind. Emotional resilience isn't about ignoring or suppressing your feelings, it's about processing them in a healthy way and then letting them go rather than allowing them to take permanent residence in your mind. Another key aspect of taking responsibility for your inner peace is understanding that external validation is fleeting. If your sense of self-worth and calm is built entirely on other people's approval, you'll always be vulnerable to emotional turmoil. People's opinions are inconsistent, subjective, and often influenced by their own insecurities or biases. Relying on these opinions for your inner peace is like building a house on shifting sand. It's unstable and unsustainable. Instead, focus on building an internal foundation of self-worth that isn't easily shaken by external noise. Affirm your own values, celebrate your own achievements, and validate your own experiences. This doesn't mean shutting yourself off from feedback or connection with others, but it means not allowing their words or actions to dictate your emotional climate. By cultivating self-validation, you become less reactive to others' negativity and more grounded in your own truth. Taking responsibility for your inner peace also involves creating intentional practices that nourish your mind and soul. This might include meditation, journaling, exercise, spending time in nature, or engaging in hobbies that bring you joy. These practices are not just luxuries, they're essential tools for maintaining emotional balance. For example, meditation helps train your mind to remain calm in the face of chaos, while journaling allows you to process emotions in a constructive way. Exercise releases endorphins that improve your mood, and spending time in nature provides a sense of perspective and calm. The key is consistency, making these practices a regular part of your life rather than something you only turn to when things fall apart. Just like physical health requires regular exercise and good nutrition, emotional health requires consistent care and attention. Another important factor in protecting your inner peace is learning to detach from situations and people who repeatedly disrupt it. This doesn't mean cutting everyone out of your life at the first sign of conflict, but it does mean recognizing when a relationship or situation is consistently draining you. Detachment doesn't have to be dramatic or hostile. It's simply the act of emotionally stepping back and refusing to let someone else's chaos become your chaos. You can love people, support them, and care for them without carrying their burdens as your own. This might mean limiting your time with toxic individuals, refusing to engage in unnecessary arguments, or simply reminding yourself that not every battle is worth fighting. Detachment is about protecting your energy and prioritizing your mental well-being. Taking ownership of your inner peace also requires embracing forgiveness, not necessarily for others, but for yourself. Holding on to anger, guilt, or regret creates emotional blockages that prevent peace from fully settling into your heart. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing bad behavior or pretending everything is okay. It means releasing the grip that past events have on your present happiness. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself, mistakes you've made, opportunities you've missed, or times you've let yourself down. But true peace cannot coexist with self-condemnation. When you forgive yourself, you make room for self-compassion, growth, and acceptance. You free yourself from the weight of the past and allow yourself to move forward with clarity and grace. Lastly, taking responsibility for your inner peace means being intentional about the people and environments you surround yourself with. Surround yourself with individuals who uplift you, challenge you to grow, and respect your boundaries. A peaceful environment isn't just about external quietness, it's about emotional and mental safety. Are the people around you encouraging your growth, or are they constantly pulling you into drama and negativity? Your environment shapes your mindset, and your mindset shapes your peace. Taking responsibility means curating a life that supports your emotional well-being, even if that requires making difficult decisions. Healing from emotional wounds is often romanticized as a process where someone finally apologizes, validates your pain, or explains their actions in a way that brings clarity and peace. However, true healing rarely unfolds in such a neatly packaged manner. Waiting for closure from others is like putting your emotional well-being on hold until someone else decides you deserve peace. This reliance on external validation or resolution creates an unhealthy dependency, where your healing becomes tethered to someone else's willingness or ability to provide answers or make amends. The reality is, some people may never apologize, some relationships may never have a perfect resolution, and some situations may remain messy and unresolved. Waiting for someone else to fix the damage they caused only extends your suffering and keeps you trapped in an emotional limbo. The first step towards true healing is recognizing that closure isn't something someone else gives you, it's something you create for yourself. It's an internal process rooted in acceptance, self-compassion, and the willingness to let go of expectations from others. When you rely on someone else for closure, you give them power over your healing journey. You're essentially saying, I can't move on until you fix this for me, but what happens when that person refuses to engage, doesn't care, or simply isn't capable of giving you the answers you seek? You remain stuck, replaying scenarios in your mind, trying to decode their actions and wondering what you could have done differently. This cycle is exhausting and self-destructive. Healing begins when you shift your focus from them to yourself. It requires you to accept that some questions will remain unanswered, some apologies will never come, and some relationships will remain broken. But none of that has to stop you from finding peace. Healing is about reclaiming control over your emotional state and refusing to let unresolved situations hold you hostage. One of the most important aspects of finding closure within yourself is accepting reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. This means acknowledging the pain, disappointment, and betrayal without sugarcoating or minimizing your experience. Acceptance doesn't mean you're okay with what happened or that you approve of the behavior. It means you've stopped resisting reality, you stop obsessing over the what ifs and if onlys, and instead focus on what you can control: your perspective, your actions, and your future. Acceptance is a powerful act of self-liberation because it removes the weight of expectation from your shoulders. You stop waiting for someone to come back and fix things, and instead, you begin to fix yourself. This process often involves grieving not just the loss of the relationship or experience, but also the loss of the idealized version of how things could have turned out. Grief is not a linear process, and it's not something you can rush. But allowing yourself to fully feel and process those emotions is an essential step toward healing. Self-forgiveness also plays a significant role in finding closure within yourself. Often when someone hurts us, we unknowingly turn that pain inward. We blame ourselves for not seeing the red flags, for trusting too easily, or for staying too long in a toxic situation. This internalized guilt becomes another layer of pain that we carry and prevents true healing. But the truth is, you did the best you could with the information, resources, and emotional capacity you had at the time. Self-forgiveness is about acknowledging your mistakes, learning from them, and then releasing yourself from the grip of self-blame. It's an act of self-love, one that allows you to move forward without carrying unnecessary emotional baggage. When you forgive yourself, you free up emotional space for growth, joy, and new experiences. Another critical component of finding closure within yourself is creating new narratives about your experience. When you're stuck in pain, it's easy to tell yourself stories like, I wasn't good enough, I deserve this, or I'll never trust again. These narratives become self-fulfilling prophecies, shaping your self-esteem and influencing your future relationships. But you have the power to rewrite those stories. Instead of focusing on what was taken from you, focus on what you gained, lessons learned, strength discovered, and resilience built. Instead of defining yourself by your pain, define yourself by how you rose from it. This shift in perspective doesn't erase the hurt, but it gives it meaning and purpose. Your pain becomes part of your story, not the entirety of it. Healing also requires you to set boundaries, not just with others, but with yourself. Sometimes closure is about creating distance from people, situations, or even memories that keep reopening old wounds. This might mean cutting off contact with someone, unfollowing them on social media, or simply refusing to engage in conversations that re-traumatize you. Boundaries are not acts of punishment, they're acts of self-respect. They signal to yourself and others that your peace is non-negotiable. At the same time, boundaries with yourself might include letting go of the urge to revisit old messages, stalk social media accounts, or dwell on past conversations. Healing requires discipline, and boundaries are the guardrails that keep you on the path to emotional freedom. Lastly, finding closure within yourself means embracing a future-focused mindset. When you're trapped in the past, it's easy to miss out on the beauty and opportunities of the present moment. The past cannot be changed, no matter how much you analyze it or wish it away. But the present and the future are still yours to shape. Redirect your energy into activities, relationships, and goals that bring you fulfillment. Invest in your growth, surround yourself with supportive people, and allow yourself to dream again. Healing doesn't mean forgetting, it means refusing to let the past dictate your future. It's about reclaiming your joy, your purpose, and your peace. In the end, closure isn't about receiving a perfectly worded apology or a neatly tied up resolution from someone else. It's about making peace with the past on your own terms. It's about looking inward, finding your strength, and deciding that your emotional well-being is worth fighting for. When you stop searching for closure outside of yourself and start creating it within, you step into a space of true empowerment and freedom. Detachment is one of the most misunderstood yet powerful tools for achieving peace, clarity, and emotional freedom. At its core, detachment doesn't mean not caring, it means caring in a way that protects your inner peace. It's about recognizing the fine line between what you can control and what you cannot, and then letting go of the illusion that you can force outcomes, change people, or fix situations beyond your influence. Many people carry the heavy burden of trying to control every detail of their lives and the people around them. This need for control is often rooted in fear, the fear of uncertainty, failure, or rejection. However, life is inherently unpredictable, and trying to micromanage every aspect of it only leads to frustration, anxiety, and burnout. True freedom comes when you release your grip on the uncontrollable and focus your energy on what you can influence: your actions, your mindset, and your responses. One of the key principles of detachment is understanding that people are not projects and their behavior is not your responsibility. So often we invest time and emotional energy into trying to change others, hoping they'll become kinder, more loving, or more responsible. While it's natural to want the best for the people we care about, it becomes damaging when we make their growth or transformation our personal mission. People only change when they're ready, and no amount of pleading, nagging, or strategizing can force that readiness. When you detach from the expectation that others must meet your standards or behave in a way that aligns with your preferences, you free yourself from the constant disappointment of unmet expectations. This doesn't mean you stop loving or caring about others. It means you allow them the dignity of their own journey while protecting your peace. Detachment also requires you to let go of outcomes. We often set goals, make plans, and pour our hearts into achieving something specific. While ambition and dedication are important, they become toxic when we tie our self-worth and happiness to the outcome. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, things don't go as planned. Relationships end, business ventures fail, and opportunities slip away. When we're overly attached to a particular result, these setbacks can feel catastrophic. But when we embrace detachment, we recognize that our efforts are within our control, but the outcomes are not. We learn to focus on the process rather than obsessing over the result. Detachment allows you to approach your goals with passion and determination while holding the outcome loosely. This mindset not only reduces anxiety, but also opens you up to unexpected opportunities and alternative paths. Another critical aspect of detachment is releasing the need for external validation. Many people are deeply attached to how others perceive them. They seek approval, recognition, and praise as a measure of their worth. While it's natural to enjoy positive feedback, making it the foundation of your self-esteem creates an emotional dependency. People's opinions are fickle, influenced by their biases, moods, and circumstances. When your self-worth hinges on something so unstable, you're bound to feel ungrounded and insecure. Detachment teaches you to validate yourself from within, to build a strong sense of self that isn't shaken by someone else's criticism or lack of recognition. You begin to understand that your value isn't determined by how many people approve of you, but by how authentically you live your truth. Practicing detachment also means letting go of past regrets and future worries. Many people live in the past, replaying mistakes, missed opportunities, and painful memories over and over. Others live in the future, constantly worrying about what might go wrong or trying to plan for every possible scenario. Both mindsets steal the peace and joy of the present moment. Detachment invites you to fully inhabit the present. It's about acknowledging the past without letting it define you and planning for the future without letting it consume you. When you detach from the need to rewrite the past or control the future, you open yourself up to the beauty and possibility of the now. A powerful way to cultivate detachment is through mindfulness and self-awareness. Mindfulness teaches you to observe your thoughts, emotions, and reactions without getting entangled in them. It allows you to pause and ask yourself, is this within my control? Is my emotional energy being spent wisely? When you approach life with this level of awareness, you become less reactive and more intentional. You start to recognize the difference between fighting battles worth your energy and walking away from those that drain you unnecessarily. This doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you care smarter. You learn to invest your time, energy, and emotions into things that align with your values and let go of the rest. Another essential aspect of detachment is understanding that letting go doesn't mean giving up. Many people confuse detachment with apathy or resignation, but they are entirely different. Detachment is not about walking away from challenges or refusing to care. It's about showing up fully without clinging to a specific outcome. It's about giving your best without attaching your happiness or self-worth to the result. For example, in a relationship, detachment doesn't mean you stop loving someone. It means you stop trying to control them. In your career, detachment doesn't mean you stop working hard. It means you stop defining your worth by your job title or salary.